When the season began, Boise State and Memphis expected this game to be a potentially astronomical game in terms of importance. The race for the NY6 appeared to be potentially going through this game, but that hasn't been the case. Boise State finds themselves 2-2, Memphis is 3-1, and the feeling coming into the season isn't the same as it is right now. Now, these are two teams with a ton of talent on the rosters, but there are some things both sides need to address. There's certain things on offense, both things need to figure out. And there's also some defensive things that both sides need to figure out. We'll start with looking at Boise State. I think the first thing for Boise State is that this defense continues to struggle more than we expected. This is a defense that had in the past has been a solid group, maybe not the most talented, but definitely a group that can put together a strong effort. And so far, big plays have plagued the Boise State defense. 26 plays of 15 plus yards allowed on the year already. That's not exactly a group that will find a way to slow teams down. If you're giving up big play after big play, you're going to get gashed. And that's a reason why they've given up over 30 points per game. And when you combine that with an offense that isn't scoring at a blistering pace and needs to figure some things out on their own, that doesn't lead to a good combination in terms of winning football games. And you're facing a Memphis Tigers team that can put up some big plays in a hurry. They can put up points quickly. And I think the weirdest thing about this game is that Memphis is the team that's better offensively, which isn't a surprise, but also defensively. They've been playing a lot better than Boise State has. And that's concerning if you're Andy Avalos and that Boise State program. But this is a good opportunity for them to try and turn things around. I don't think that this is necessarily a game that you would just expect Memphis to win easily. This is a game that has the potential to be a big statement game for both sides. And I think Boise State could use a win here and could use a little bit of a boost in confidence. For Memphis, I think that we've seen Blake Watson do a lot of good things so far this season. And I believe you still have to do that. You still have to find ways to get him the football, and they've done that really well, whether that's running the football. Obviously, he's a good runner, but he's also an underrated piece of their passing attack. Seth Hennigan has done a great job of distributing the ball to various different playmakers. Rock Taylor's been really good as of late, but Blake Watson is also another player that can step up and make big plays as well. And we just talked about explosive plays for Boise State. Blake Watson is one of those guys that can make explosive plays happen. Rock Taylor's the same way. There are a number of people that can make explosive plays, and that will help Memphis not only win this game, but I think that it will keep Boise State in a state of uncertainty because when you look at their offense and what Boise State hasn't really done this year is find that balance. And if you can't create your own explosive plays and your defense continues to give them up, you're going to find that life's very difficult to win football games. We saw that last week against San Diego State, an offense that hasn't been good by any means, and Boise State struggled to keep them off the scoreboard. And the biggest thing for Boise State is, like I said, finding a passing attack that can actually contribute to the win. Taylor Green has to be able to figure out what's going on with his ability to move the ball down the field through the air because right now it's kind of one dimensional in what they're trying to do. And Green plays a big role in fixing that problem. Right now, Boise State is 86th in the country in passing offense. That's simply not going to get the job done. And when you have a player like Ashton Genty, who is the best player on the field this weekend, he is the best player arguably in the group of five, and he's one of the best players in college football. He just doesn't get enough recognition because Boise State is 2-2. If this is a 4-0 Boise State team, Ashton Genty is one of the most talked about players in college football. Have almost 600, almost 700 yards and 8 total touchdowns. I think that he is a phenomenal talent. And yes, they're going to run him as much as they can. They're also going to find ways to get him the football in space in the passing attack, but you can't rely on him to do everything. At a certain point, your quarterback and the rest of this offense has to step up and it has to give him almost a breather because eventually durability will be a question. It doesn't matter who you are. Eventually, if you're doing too much for too long, something's going to happen or you're going to need a break. And somebody still has to step up in that case because if you're not on the field, then you can't just have one player be the reason that the ball moves down the field. And Taylor Green, like I said, plays a big role in that. And this is a good matchup for him. I think it's an opportunity to show that he can compete with a guy like Seth Hennigan. Seth Hennigan so far not having the best season in his standards, with 5 interceptions, but he's definitely the better passer of the two without question. I think that he is someone who will fly under the radar in terms of his talent and his production, but Jalen Green is someone who we've seen make some really nice throws. We saw that last week. He made a couple nice passes, and that's something Boise State needs. They need him to be better. They need him to be an effective player, and they need him to, at times, take over and show that he can be an absolute force. And right now, he can do that as a runner. We just haven't seen it as a passer. So maybe getting involved in the quick game early, maybe throwing some quick screens to his wide receivers, some easy hitches, slants, you name it. Getting Taylor Green involved and finding a way to build his confidence will be a quick way to get Boise State in this game and keep them around. Because if Green's playing with confidence all game, then I think Boise State has a chance to hang on. Now, Memphis's offense provides its own unique challenges, and their defense also, I think, has been a lot more improved than we expected. And now a 3-1 start isn't what they wanted. I think they expected to be 4-0. Even the game against Missouri last week, they were still in that game up until the end. It's just that they couldn't come through. Their offense couldn't score enough, and the defense I just couldn't get enough stops. But when you're looking at what they have, we already talked about Blake Watson. We talked about Rock Taylor. The running back group is pretty deep. So even if Blake Watson can't go, there are a lot of players that can step up and take his place. Wide receiver is also a good position for them. And I think that there is plenty of talent for Seth Hennigan to utilize if it's not just Rock Taylor getting the job done. On defense, they're a talented group and inconsistent at times, but there's still plenty of talent. I think Jalen Allen is one of those players that flies under the radar, doesn't get the recognition that he deserves because he plays for a Memphis team that it hasn't been known for defense and is in the group of five. So in the college football world, that's just kind of a tough scenario to be in, a tough situation to be in terms of getting people to recognize you, but that's the life that they live right now. And they're going against a Boise State team that has nothing to lose. This is a team that struggled out the gate, and they're still trying to figure some things out, and they're disappointed and frustrated to be 2-2. So you definitely have to bring your A game because even though you are the favorite in this game, Boise State is going to give you everything they have and more. It's still a really interesting game for both sides. I think despite the fact that they're not at the top of the group of five, these are two teams that definitely can compete and make life interesting for a lot of people. And it's a race right now for the group of five for the NY6 spot. These two teams aren't in that race right now, but they're not far behind the teams that are. And right now, it feels like the group of five has a ton of parity in terms of everyone that is competing for that spot should have a similar record towards the end of the year. So you have to find ways to pick up a win here and there to be able to keep this going because a 3-2 start for Memphis makes things a little bit dicier, and a 2-3 start for Boise State essentially takes them out of that race. Picking this game's tough because it's easy to pick Memphis and it's easy to do that, which is kind of a weird thing to say now after what we saw coming into the year. Boise State is still a team that I think is underrated and can get the job done. But right now, Memphis is playing with more confidence. They're playing more consistent. And for that reason, I'm picking Memphis to win this game. I think that they have proven more than Boise State has. And until Taylor Green is able to take that step as a passer, Memphis will have no problem at times slowing down that offense. And it's just a matter of how many points can they put up on the scoreboard and what is enough for them to keep Boise State away.